Dragon Ball Z's time chamber has to be one of the most broken training tools in all of anime. I mean, you literally get years worth of training in one day, and if there was one person who I think could make use of that time better than anyone, it would definitely be Naruto, considering his insanely broken training technique of the multi-shadow clone jutsu. I mean, could you just imagine how strong Naruto would be if he was trained by Jiraiya in the time chamber with every advantage he already had in the main series? The dude would be so broken. Now, just imagine that happens, but before the Chunin exams, and all of a sudden you got an infinite Tsukiyomi dream scenario in your hands. So if you're excited to listen to Naruto actually make proper use of his time, then like the video, share with a friend, and check out the voluptuous That One Weeb channel after you're done with this video, because this is only part 1 of it, and the rest of the 2-hour video is going to be on his channel. So go check that one out when this one's over, but without any further ado, enjoy.
As the sun's beginning to set, we hear the roar of triumph as Gamabunta and Naruto are having their final bout, with Gamabunta trying to shake the young boy off of his forehead, saying, "Get off me, you dumb brat!" Naruto would stick on as hard as he can, using his chakra in his hands and feet and standing on top of the giant toad. As the sun would finally begin to set, he would have succeeded in the trial, that is, of standing atop Gamabunta to be recognized as a proper summoner of the toad summoning jutsu. With that, Gamabunta would set Naruto down, congratulating him and saying that he passed his test. He's really got some guts. Naruto would barely be standing as he falls to the ground with his thumb up in the air, sweat trickling down his forehead and through his ninja headband as he screams, "All right!" After that, Jiraiya would finally begin to stroll over, with him having closely been following Naruto and Gamabunta's challenge. "Hey Naruto, you actually did it. I'm kind of impressed. Gamabunta's quite the tough cookie, you know." Gamabunta would wave, saying, "See ya, kid," as he vanishes into a puff of smoke. Naruto would laugh, saying, "Yeah, I barely had that covered," and Jiraiya would help him to his feet. "Well, you've got one jutsu under your belt. Isn't that the strength you were looking for? And you've still got almost more than a month left until the Chunin exams. What do you want to do now?" "Well, I still have plenty of more I need to work on if I want to catch up to Sasuke and that guy, Neji." With that, Naruto and Jiraiya would look at each other as the sun finally now reached the end of its set. With night beginning to fall in, Naruto would realize how late it was, saying, "Oh crud, we need to get back to the village!" But with both of them looking to nowhere in sight, the closest thing they could see of civilization would be a tall smokestack, and the silhouette of some odd structure, neither of which they recognized. Well, I've never seen anyone living out this part of the Land of Fire before, but it's better than nothing. And frankly, I only like camping out in the countryside with cute girls. Pervy sage," Naruto would grunt, as the two of them would then walk toward the smokestack, hoping for some food and some friendly people. As they approached, they'd see a large, strange structure, different from the houses they're used to seeing in the Land of Fire. It would be collapsible. It would have tall wooden spokes. It would have interesting red and blue color schemes decorating it. A tall man with a spear and an interesting bone necklace would walk out. He'd have red tribal markings across his face. As he'd look and recognize them as shinobi, he'd point his spear out, with a young boy at his feet. "Upa, stay back," the man would say, as he points toward the two shinobi. Naruto and Jiraiya would hold their hands up, saying, They're just looking for a place to stay for the night," with Naruto laughing. The man would recognize this being a young child, feeling pity for the young shinobi. He'd decide that it can't be too dangerous, having not seen their kind in quite a long time, and these two seem friendly. He'd ask Upa if he's alright, with Naruto and Upa being now introduced to each other, and Jiraiya sitting next to him as well, asking who the two are, and what is this place, referring to the incredibly tall stone pillar they saw approaching this now house. The man would explain, over dinner, now getting into the depths of their history and what this tower is. "This is called Korin's Tower. It's been here for as long as I've been around, my father and his father before him. It's said that if a warrior climbs this tower, they'll gain ultimate power, and even have a chance at meeting God, the god of this world." "The god?" Naruto would sit up. "What does that mean?" Jiraiya would wonder if this has anything to do with the Sage of Six Paths, remembering his time with Nagato, Konan, and the Rain Trio. That's pretty interesting. I haven't heard of a story like that," Jiraiya would say. As the two would continue talking, nightfall would quickly come, as Upa and Naruto The tall man and Jiraiya would all lay down, now settling in for the night and waking up the next morning. As they were prepared to leave, Naruto would take one last look at the tower, saying, "You know, Pervy Sage, maybe it's worth giving it a try and climbing it. I mean, it could be some pretty good training, right? And I still have some time left." Jiraiya would turn, looking at the strange tower with its different markings unfamiliar to him. It's kind of dangerous, but we do have some time. Would you mind if we attempted climbing the tower?" he'd ask. They'd both laugh, with saying that none of their family has ever been able to climb the tower before them, having fallen after about 15 meters or so. Naruto would grin, saying, "Yeah, I've got this," as he runs up to the tower and begins sticking his feet on it. He'd use chakra, and pushing it into his feet would easily attach to the tower, as the two would begin to climb.
It'd be at this point that Naruto and Jiraiya would begin their ascent. As their feet would be coated in chakra to stick onto the surface, they would go climbing. And the more that they would get higher, the more clean the place would look. And towards the bottom of this massive looking beam tower thing, it would be kind of rubble-like. It's a bit destroyed and a bit scruffy looking, almost like an abandoned town or village. But the higher they would get, almost as if it was a very, very different tower, it would start becoming more white, the marble would look better, and overall it just had a cooler look. As they would get higher and higher, eventually Naruto would start gassing out, with Jiraiya saying, "Naruto, do you want to give up? This is pretty high and it looks like we've still got a long way to go." But Naruto, wiping sweat off his brow, would say, "Don't worry about me, Jiraiya-sensei. Believe it, I'm going to be making it to the top, no problem." So Jiraiya, trusting in the young Naruto, would tell him, "All right, but if you need any help, don't come crawling to me." Naruto would say, "Don't worry about it. I won't need it." But just a few minutes later, we'd flash forward to Naruto being carried by the Toad Sage, who, wrapping him up in his hair, using another jutsu in tandem with his ability to climb up, he'd be helping the young Naruto make it to the top, with the end almost in sight. He'd be scrunching so hard as he'd be like, "Naruto, can you start climbing by yourself again? It's becoming so difficult, I might fall off, and honestly, if we fall from this height, we're both dead." Naruto, feeling the fear, would instantly be like, "Yeah," as he would start climbing up the tower himself, his feet now pressing against them way better, and it'd be very tense. Naruto doing it so carefully as to make sure he didn't fall. Once his grippers would finally grab onto the tower, he would begin going up higher and higher. Yeah, his grippers. He'd begin going up higher and higher, and as they would make it to the summit, Naruto would say, What's this?" They would make it up top to this weird looking abandoned area, which we all know as the lookout from Dragon Ball. But a few things are going to be changing, because in this timeline, there's not going to be any Korin, meaning that there's no Senzu beans, and there's not going to be any Popo, that strange, the backside of the moon looking guy, and there's definitely not going to be a Kami, because that's just not going to be happening. However, much like Weeb alluded to, this is the old resting place of the legendary Sage of the Six Paths. And once Naruto and Jiraiya would make it up here, I could see Jiraiya and Naruto both kind of like emptying and squeezing out the fabric of their headbands, as sweat would begin pouring out, looking like it was a headband, or no, not headband, what is it, Weeb? A sweatband?
Like a sweatband, or maybe a sponge.
Yeah, kind of like that. They're like squeezing it out like it was a sponge with water and soap. Eventually,
nasty.
Naruto, sitting on the ground, would say, "I'm beat, Jiraiya. You think I became super strong after climbing?" To which Jiraiya, turning to Naruto, would say, "If any of us had become stronger, it probably would have been me, because I actually did the climb. I helped you about 20% of the way." Naruto, turning to him, would say, "But come on, I still climbed about 80% of this tower, Jiraiya. I mean, that's gotta count for something, right?" Jiraiya, turning to Naruto, would say, "Whatever." As he'd say, "Well, now that we're up here, it's not like we're going to get down anytime soon, so we might as well just use our time wisely and explore this place. Can't imagine it gets more dangerous from this point forward." Jiraiya would have just said that outwardly, but inwardly, he'd be thinking that maybe if that wasn't the test climbing up the tower, maybe it's what they'll find up here. So, after about a 30-minute break, Jiraiya and Naruto would finally get up, with an enthusiastic Naruto going, "Come on, Jiraiya-sensei, let's look in the tower." And as they would explore these empty rooms, they would see kind of nothingness. It looked a little bit worn out, but overall it kind of did look a little nice, I guess. As they would explore more and more rooms, this is when suddenly they would see a strange room. Two massive doors, the ones that Jiraiya had been a little apprehensive to walk inside, seeing as he had thought that there might have been a threat in there. But when they would open the room and they would step inside, they'd be greeted to, well, nothingness. It's just white. There's nothing there.
Naruto and Jiraiya walk into this empty white space. The light, now forcing their eyes to adjust from the darkness, would be jarring. As Naruto would step into the room, he'd immediately feel the difference. He'd be the first one to explore, Jiraiya being more cautious. "Hey, pervy sage, it's... whoa." Naruto would begin to crumple as he feels his weight going to his knees. What's the deal with this room? It's massive. I don't see an end to it. He'd turn, looking left and right, seeing nothing. As he turned around looking up from the door they came, he'd see a massive rounded building with a golden roof, at the top being a two-handed clock. Naruto, looking around, would feel this incredible weight on him, that being the increased gravity of the time chamber, that being the hyperbolic time chamber from Dragon Ball. As Naruto and Jiraiya would wander around inside the room looking to see if there was any other entrances or anything in this room at all, Jiraiya would notice even he himself was struggling, feeling his chakra draining out of his body even faster than normal. Something's up with this room. This is not normal. Something's here, he'd think. He'd turn around looking at the door they'd come in with Naruto now beginning to get exhausted. He'd fall, almost now unable to move, saying, Pervy sage, I can barely even stand. With Naruto barely able to handle the heat in here, the temperature and the wild environment of this room was even getting to Jiraiya. Let's go out and see how long we've been in here. It's been at least 6 hours. With the two of them having spent so much time investigating the room, it would take some more time for them to get back. As they'd arrive back to the door at the entrance of the room, Jiraiya would open it, feeling the sweat dripping down his face, as himself and Naruto would exit the room, feeling a gasp of cold air. It was still dawn. After that long climb up the tower, the time had seemingly been the same, but that was impossible. Had it been a whole day inside the room? What was going on? In order to test this theory, this is when Jiraiya would use his summoning jutsu, summoning a toad from Mount Miyaboku and asking what the time was, making sure that he hadn't spent an entire day in there for what had felt like 6 hours. The toad would laugh, saying, Jiraiya, we just talked this morning. It was only about 6 hours ago. What? That's impossible, Jiraiya would be thinking. That was before he'd even started the climb. That was not even that long ago, and they'd spent so long in the room. Something's going on here. Jiraiya would turn back to the door, asking Naruto to step aside as he de-summoned the toad. He'd analyze the door, holding his palm against it and feeling the thrum of chakra. This chakra was even more powerful than any he had sensed before, and the reason his apprehension had been so high. As he pulled his eye closer to the door, he'd see thousands of tiny seals. These seals being so intricate and complex, he could barely even understand what they were to begin with. It was clearly made by a genius, a master of the craft. It was impossible. As Jiraiya then moved back from the door, he'd begin to realize something. Hey, Naruto, I want you to go into the room and stay in there for about 3 hours. Huh? We just got out! I'll die, it's so hot in there! Just sit by the weird box over there and drink something, I don't know. Jiraiya would push Naruto back into the room and seal the door. As he sits waiting, in just a mere second, Naruto would open the door again. It's gotta have been 3 hours by now. I'm dying, Jiraiya-sensei. What were you even doing out here? I was right. Jiraiya would be shocked. This was incredible. He'd never heard of a space like this. Some kind of time ninjutsu seal. This room has the ability to dilate time. Hey Naruto, you said you wanted to use the rest of this month training, right? I think I can afford the time to spare with ya. What do you think we train inside here? Train in there? We could barely even stand in there. How is that? Well, maybe that's the type of training we needed from this tower. You said you wanted to get super strong, right? Well, this might be the way to do it. As Jiraiya would walk into the room of Naruto, The two would begin training for as long as possible until they could barely even manage to hold inside of the room, with Jiraiya realizing that about 2 months inside of the room equivalent to about 3 hours outside. It was pretty insane. The amount of time that they now had to train for the next remainder of the month was enough to give Jiraiya time to actually train Naruto properly in the years he had been gone, all while maintaining his spy network, which was the reason he never returned to the Leaf Village to begin with. If I can only spend a couple hours in here and get months of training in, Naruto would look now back to Jiraiya Sensei, the two of them clearly able to stand in the room now, their clothes all disheveled from training together, sparring, fighting, and practicing their chakra control. Jiraiya would ask Naruto how long he thinks they can stay in there this time, with the two of them now agreeing to stay in for another year, seeing how long that would equate to in the real world. As one day passes in our world, well, in Naruto's world, the door once again open, with Jiraiya and a much taller looking Naruto, now about, 14 years old, would now stand out, with Naruto looking at his shortened pants and saying that he definitely feels stronger as he jumps up, easily clearing 5 to 10 feet into the air without any chakra, purely from his physical strength of training inside the time chamber. Jiraiya would laugh, saying they've definitely gotten stronger, but we still have a long way to go, explaining to Naruto that he has some things he'd like to pass on to him, now that the two of them have managed to grow strong enough to actually stand within this room, the time chamber. Naruto and Jiraiya would re-enter the room. Welcome to What If Naruto Trained in the Hyperbolic Time Chamber. And so, Naruto and Jiraiya had spent 3 years training inside the Hyperbolic Time Chamber with increased gravity. What has Naruto learned? How strong has Jiraiya become? And where does the story go now with an older Naruto compared to the rest of his peers who has the power of the time chamber on his side? Naruto and Jiraiya would now disappear from our sight as we return back to the Leaf Village, where the Chunin exams are finally about to take place 2 months after the second exam. As all of the tests begin, we see Shikamaru versus Temari, we see all the classic fights, right? That is, until we get to Naruto Uzumaki versus Neji Hyuga. Everyone's looking around wondering where Naruto is and if he's actually going to show up or miss it, with Sasuke and Kakashi still missing as well. Of course, their training was much shorter than our anticipated hero. As Neji stands in the arena, now laughing out loud, he'd say mockingly, I guess he got scared and ran away. Well, that's what you get when you mess with fate. I'm a genius and he was just a little failure. Who are you calling a failure, Neji? As Neji would make fun of Naruto saying he must have run away, we'd suddenly see a blur of yellow. As dust would swirl inside the arena, Jiraiya and Naruto would be standing, Jiraiya's back to the young man. However, he was much taller than what we had anticipated. A black hood covering him, as golden hair would leak out the sides, long from the 3 years of it being untamed. As the hood would lower, the crowd would gasp, Hiruzen whispering audibly, Minato? As we see a Naruto post 3 years of training inside the time chamber. He'd be taller as he laughs, saying, No, Neji, I didn't run away at all. In fact, I was getting ready just for our fight. I spent a whole 2 months training. Neji would be astonished. You're Naruto Uzumaki? That's impossible. Did he pay you off to be some stunt double? You don't even look the same or sound the same. It's been 2 months. Like I'd believe that. Naruto would grin as he holds out his thumb saying, It's me, Naruto Uzumaki, alright. Believe it. Hey, Jiraiya Sensei. How about you get out of the arena so I can begin my fight, alright? As Neji and Naruto would face each other, the fight would begin to count down, as it's been confirmed by Jiraiya, who still looks relatively the same, that this is in fact Naruto Uzumaki. Being a Sannin, his opinion would be law. As Neji would gulp looking up at the pretty much adult figure now facing him, the crowd would be interested in seeing this genius of the Hyuga versus this freak growth spurt of this random shinobi. Although his familiarity to that of the Yellow Flash, the late 4th Hokage, was starting to cause some unease in the crowd. As the fight would begin, Neji would say, I'm not scared of you just because you got a little bigger. 32 trigrams, 64 palms, as he tries to tap Naruto's chakra points. As he hits all of his chakra points, that is, until Naruto saying a gasp would vanish. It was an after image. What are you aiming at, Neji? What? That's impossible! With my Byakugan, I should've... he had moved faster than Neji could perceive with his Byakugan. His pure speed and strength was outblitzing that of the dojutsu of the Hyuga clan. Everyone was shocked seeing this incredible speed. Could this really be the Yellow Flash? No one had even seen him move. The afterimage being so real and lifelike, they thought he had been hit. As Neji would turn, he'd then run forward again using his Hyuga-style taijutsu, trying to tap Naruto's chakra points. But Naruto with one hand would easily move out of the way, pushing his fingers around as if though they were chalk on a chalkboard. Neji was shocked. How is this possible? I'm completely outmatched. He's even faster than Guy Sensei. Guy would be watching from the crowd interested, as we see Guy and Rock Lee, who his leg is still broken from his fight with Gaara, as he would really yell out saying, "Naruto, you did it! You became stronger than a genius! I knew you could do it!" As Naruto would be enjoying this fight, Hinata would be, well, in awe of, for one, Naruto's appearance, blushing and saying he's even more attractive than last time they met, wondering if this is even possible, how he looks so mature. Sakura would be shocked, basically stunned speechless, saying, That's Naruto? There's no way, he's so smooth. Even Tenten would be speechless, not even glazing Neji. The rest of the contestants would be surprised. As Naruto would continue playing with Neji, the time to end the fight would slowly come. And since he had so much training for the last 3 years, it's not even a contest. He doesn't even need to use the Nine-Tails power. As he simply moves in close to Neji, Neji could only think that, I'm a genius at close range combat. This is impossible. As he's about to be taken down, Naruto would teleport behind him, seemingly out of his range, as he then uses a palm strike into Neji's back. Neji would go flying across the dirt and sand, causing blood and skid marks to appear on his forearm as he crashes into the arena wall, unconscious. Stop! The winner is Uzumaki Naruto! The crowd would be stunned silent, watching this, abuse of a fight as Naruto would hold his hand up, screaming out, saying he did it. He avenged Hinata and defeated Neji, proving that even a unlamed user like himself, who had to pass the graduation exam 3 times and still failed, was able to beat a genius. Although the crowd now felt slightly conflicted concerning the age gap. Anyway, that is the end of the Naruto versus Neji fight, with Jiraiya being impressed and proud of Naruto for holding back so much of his strength, barely even using any of his true potential yet, only using physical taijutsu in this confrontation. Gaara would now be a bit concerned, as the Sand Trio would be nervous, wondering if this is going to prove a problem. Anyway, as Gaara and Sasuke's fight would eventually come, Sasuke and Kakashi would do their teleportation into the arena thing, but no one was impressed this time. Everyone would be like, oh yeah, we've seen this already, causing Kakashi to be confused. Huh? Someone stole my drip technique? This has never happened to me before. Huh. Well, Sasuke, good luck. Sasuke would be confused, wondering where his hype man went, as the fight between Sasuke and Gaara would begin. What happens from here, now getting into the Gaara fight and the Konoha Crush plan?
Well, what happens from here is that the same exact things happen. Literally everything goes the same. It's almost like a mirror of the one that we get in the original timeline, because Sasuke versus Gaara fight doesn't change. It's not like he's had some crazy training. However, what happens after the fact definitely does, because Naruto and Jiraiya's being here during the Chunin exams would change a lot. Remember, you're saying that Jiraiya was there to witness things, right? Did he end up leaving or did he stay?
Nah, he definitely stayed this time. He spent way more time with Naruto, and they have like the same relationship that they have from the original like Shippuden timeline now, because they've spent so much time together. Their relationship is way more developed than it was in just part 1. So there's no reason he wouldn't stay. Plus he knows Naruto's going to win, so he'll be there to cheer
He kind of
him on.
wants to watch and just kind of like be like, yes, I trained him, to sit there and soak up all the glory. But anyways, with Naruto and Jiraiya being there, 2 battles changed drastically. One of them not even being called a fight, which is going to be the Naruto versus Gaara fight, which I'm going to be getting into, as well as the Jiraiya and Hiruzen versus Orochimaru fight, which is going to be absolutely insane. Just to even think about how much more powerful Jiraiya has gotten over the 3 years. If that's how strong Naruto's gotten, now just think about Jiraiya. So let's get into it. As soon as Gaara would leave the village, he would start rushing towards the forest, losing himself to the One-Tails, and as Sasuke would begin chasing after him, Naruto, being signaled by Kakashi to go save him, would rush after him. Jiraiya, seeing everything going on in the chaos, would immediately rush to Hiruzen's side. So, when the Sound Four would use their sealing technique or whatever it was that they had created, like a barrier for everybody not to be inside, Jiraiya and Hiruzen would stand there, as Orochimaru would think, Jiraiya, didn't expect you to get involved, but it's not like it's gonna be causing a problem now, is it? In this moment, Orochimaru would lick his lips as Jiraiya, staring at Orochimaru, Orochimaru would lick his lips as staring at Jiraiya, he would wonder just how much he's changed in these years. And funny enough, it's not like he's talking about the time chamber. He's simply talking about the time that he hasn't seen his good old buddy. But before we do that, let's do Naruto. Naruto, chasing behind Sasuke, would grow from tree branch to tree branch, not even allowing Gaara or Sasuke to get much distance between them. This is when Kankuro, attempting to stop Naruto, would get in the way, saying, "Naruto, you're not gonna..." But before anything could happen, Naruto, with one hand creating a Rasengan, would slam it into Kankuro's...
Wait. What did he say? Did you just say the Rasengan?
Naruto, with one hand, would create the Rasengan, slamming it into Kankuro's stomach as he would send the dude flying. "Out of the way, small fry!" He would send Kankuro into a tree fully unconscious as he would continue chasing after Sasuke and Gaara, having been taught the technique within the walls of the time chamber. Naruto, at this point, would now stand before Sasuke and Gaara as he would watch their fight, ready for the moment when Sasuke needs his help, because he understood just how powerful the Jinchuriki can be. And so, as the battle would advance and Sasuke would begin losing himself more and more to the power of the curse mark, Naruto, before he could attempt to even clash with Gaara, would appear right next to Sasuke, knocking him out as he would be about to attempt his Chidori strike. Mid-momentum, Naruto would then take Sasuke and then put him on the floor, as now looking up to Gaara, who's on a tree branch, he would stare at him with intent to destroy him. He would give him one warning: stand down, or else, Gaara. However, Gaara's maniacal grin would not leave his face, as he would tell him that Mother needs his blood. It's at this point that Gaara would rush at Naruto, as sending his arm turning to sand would grasp onto him. However, a substitution would occur, and Naruto would stand right behind Gaara, a kunai in hand, looking just like the yellow flash. Gaara, with the sand sweat coming down his face, would turn around, only to see that Naruto was now in front of him with a Rasengan in tow, slamming it straight into his stomach as Gaara would be sent into a tree, crashing through 3 different objects. It's at this point that Naruto standing above Gaara would actually cause him to cower in fear, as Gaara would say, "What? You're not Naruto. You're a demon." But Naruto in this moment would smile, saying that he's half right. It's at this point that Naruto would begin to prepare himself for the finishing blow, but Gaara, using the sand in the ground, would wrap it around Naruto's legs, as he would smirk, thinking that that's checkmate. He would then try to crush Naruto by his legs just like he would have done to Gaara, but Naruto would say, "Really? You think that'd work?" Kicking the sand away as though it was nothing. Naruto, now staring at Gaara, would tell him that he picked the wrong fight, as he would then knock Gaara out, which unfortunately for Naruto would end up releasing Shukaku, realizing that what he had just done had completely awakened Shukaku. Naruto, now staring at the behemoth in front of him, would facepalm as he would think to himself that Jiraiya is going to make so much fun of him if he found out about this. But as he would look to his left and his right, he could see that nobody's here to report this. So, summoning Gamabunta, Naruto would cause the same exact scenario that plays out in the original to happen. He would cause Gamabunta to hold Shukaku in place with the Kurama transformation, as he would then speed blitz to Gaara without the sand causing any problems at all, knocking him back into consciousness and giving him his patented Talk no Jutsu. This would change Gaara's entire philosophy, and this is when the Sand siblings would end up arriving to pretty much save Gaara and take him away. As this would be taking place, we would now cut right back to Jiraiya versus Orochimaru, because it's going to be the new name of this fight, because Hiruzen, he doesn't even matter at this point. Jiraiya would sit down on the ground as with the scroll he would open it in front of himself, asking himself what jutsu he should use on Orochimaru. It's at this point that Orochimaru, staring at Jiraiya, would ask him why he's so cocky, that he always has been the stronger of the two. But instantly, Jiraiya would tap into perfect Sage mode, having learned how to do this over the 3-year time skip that he would have shared with Naruto inside of the time chamber. Having nothing but time, there was no more excuses or any reasons why Jiraiya wouldn't learn this. So, now tapping into this newfound power, this would cause Orochimaru to feel fear. He would say, "What? Jiraiya, you mastered it?" And it'd be at this point that Orochimaru would smile, saying, "No matter," as a sweat would drop down his face, summoning 2 coffins, as standing before him would now be the first and second Kage. Suddenly, another box would appear, saying fourth. Jiraiya, understanding that that's the last person he wants to go up against in this moment, would rush at Orochimaru, preventing him from using his jutsu, as this battle would start immediately with 3 Jiraiya clones jumping towards the direction of each opponent, slamming a giant Rasengan into them. It'd be at this moment that Hashirama and Tobirama would be destroyed. However, Orochimaru, being the sneaky snake that he is, would end up substituting out of there just in time. And so, as Jiraiya would now stare at the bodies of the first and second Hokage, a slight look of just sadness would appear on his face. He would then use a sealing jutsu, to seal both of them up almost immediately, with Hiruzen watching on in awe. "Jiraiya, You've changed." Jiraiya's speed would be so unmatched that Orochimaru couldn't even keep up with Jiraiya, and as Jiraiya was flying around the battlefield, suddenly his hair would whip onto Orochimaru's leg, dragging him towards him, as Jiraiya in this moment, creating smoke and fire, would shoot a massive jutsu that would just incinerate Orochimaru. It's at this point that Orochimaru, attempting to substitute out, would substitute right to Jiraiya's trap. It's in this moment that a toad mouth would appear, and trapped inside of this now, this space that Orochimaru couldn't get out of, Jiraiya was now free to completely destroy him. Jiraiya would simply say, "Lights out," as he would then speed blitz him, and a massive Rasengan would completely destroy Orochimaru, leaving him unconscious and in a near-death state. This is when the Toadmouth would disappear, and Jiraiya, now standing there with Orochimaru at his feet, would say that he's sorry, old friend, as he would now stare back to Hiruzen, who would say, "Jiraiya, you've changed so much. I hardly recognize you. You even look older. That's what you noticed? What? Are you kidding me? You mean to tell me that I just did all that? I used my cool one-liner and that's what you recognize? Guess things never change." It's at this point that Hiruzen, thanking Jiraiya for the help that he has just had, would pretty much bow down to him as he would thank him for the help. This is when he would go on to pretty much subtly let him know that the spot of Hokage is always open for grabs. To which Jiraiya, feeling a shiver down his spine, would go, "Gotta go." And it's at this point that the sound 4 would proceed to undo the barrier.
So, Jiraiya just took down Orochimaru, finally fulfilling his promise to his friend and, well, taking him down, having grown stronger in the last 3 years, the time that Orochimaru has not had. In those 3 years, Jiraiya had now grown to the power that he thought was unattainable for himself, through the realization of the time chamber. Although Hiruzen offered him the position of the, 5th Hokage, he told Hiruzen to keep the seat warm. His student and protege Naruto will be taking that spot in no time. As he disappears from the battlefield, saying Hiruzen can handle the rest, the Sound 4 would leap in, trying to save their master, that being Orochimaru. But with the barrier being disabled now, in their fear for the death of their master, Hiruzen would easily step in using Enma and could easily handle the Sound 4. With the Anbu now charging down onto the scene, capturing Orochimaru in the same type of coat, like the straight jacket that Sasuke was placed in at the end of the war. He is completely unable to move, out of chakra and out of options. The only reason he has any hope left is that he has some now forces in reserve, such as Karin and, of course, the rest of the Sound Village. But really, what is anyone there going to do to attack the Leaf Village at this point? Orochimaru has been captured by the Leaf Village. Will he die? Will Danzo take him out? Who knows? We'll see. But for now, he is out of the picture, with the Leaf Village having taken a win in capturing one of their biggest rogue ninja of the century. Jiraiya would dip out, leaving Naruto behind. Since Hiruzen does not pass away in this timeline, there's no need for him to wait around and perhaps look for Tsunade as a replacement, with Hiruzen keeping the seat warm and dusty. Jiraiya would now return to his studies, as you could put it. Now, knowing that Naruto could easily handle any threats that the village could take in the next coming days. Of course, he's also aware of the Akatsuki, and unfortunately they don't have as much information as they would have in the 3-year time skip from the original, but he'd be confident that Naruto could handle any threat that comes after him. That is, for now. Anyway, Naruto would have taken out Gaara, now successfully turning him to the side of the light, using the ultimate Talk no Jutsu power. With that, everyone would return back to the village now as the rebuilding efforts would begin. Sasuke would be pressed. "You didn't have to knock me out. I could have handled that Joker just fine." Sasuke would look up at Naruto. It was kind of comical seeing him looking up to Naruto's height, as the older Naruto would bark back, saying, "You could barely even handle him. He was letting you live to play with you. I just saved your ass, and this is how you're treating me? Maybe I should have let you fight Gaara after all." Naruto would play back with him. Sasuke would grin, saying, "Huh? You really think so? How about we fight now?" As Sasuke would ask Naruto again and again, "How did you get this strong? What happened to you?" With Sasuke wondering in his mind how it's possible that Naruto went from this little shrimp to this fully matured adult version of himself in the span of 2 months. What had exactly happened during his training? And did Kakashi Sensei hide something from him? Did he tell Naruto a secret to gain more power? All these thoughts swirled inside of Sasuke.
Bro, this is a perfect opportunity to have a flashback scene where Naruto wants to tell Sasuke what the truth is, but Jiraiya during the time in the time chamber would have essentially told Naruto that the secret of the time chamber must not get out, because if it could fall into the wrong hands, even someone like his friends, this could be horrific for the Naruto world, considering that somebody could use this for ill purposes, someone like Orochimaru, and potentially take over the entire shinobi world. So Naruto having these thoughts echo in his head would look at Sasuke and feel bad, like, I want to tell you so bad, Sasuke, but I just can't.
Yeah, he's cooking. Anyway, yeah, Naruto would have this internal dialogue within himself, now wanting to give Sasuke the key to the strength he had, especially since he's had so much development in the last 3 years, now viewing Sasuke as more like his friend, with him and Sakura being the closest friends Naruto's had. He really appreciates how important they are. And while he still does feel some rivalry with Sasuke, it's more like a little brother feeling now, especially because of the time that's passed for Naruto. Sasuke is still the same, but Naruto's changed. He's the older one now. He's more mature. And so Sasuke even feels this difference, this maturity even angering him more. He's not the same idiot that I knew. What happened to you, Naruto? These thoughts would swirl. Again, Sasuke would go off to brood. Sakura, Hinata, and Ino would all come up to Naruto after the fact, asking what if he's really Naruto Uzumaki. Yep, the one and only, he'd say, holding a peace sign out. Hinata would be shocked she faints onto the ground, asking if it's really possible that he grew that much in 2 months. Well, you can believe it or not, but I am what you're looking at. See, I'm not even using a transformation jutsu. Watch this. He'd use his patented sexy jutsu. As Sakura would throw a punch at him, Naruto wouldn't even get knocked out this time, having gotten so much stronger. He'd deactivate the sexy jutsu, saying, "Hey, I was just kidding!" As the girls would now realize, yep, that's totally Naruto. With that, everything would end from the Konoha Crush plan, giving us an extra 2 or 3 weeks of time now, where Naruto's pretty much just experiencing his life now in the Leaf Village, while Sasuke and Sakura are retreating to regular missions. For one, Naruto and the rest of Team 7, as everything's been peaceful, times would slowly return to the mundane. That is, until a storm cloud would roll over the Leaf Village. That is that of 2 hooded figures, with bells chiming off their hats and red clouds on their garb. That is the Akatsuki. See, unfortunately in the original, due to Hiruzen passing away, Itachi had been forced to come back in order to show Danzo that he was still very much alive and kicking to protect Sasuke. However, in this timeline of events, because Naruto never left the village to go and find Tsunade, they were sent to hunt down the Nine Tails as part of their excuse to travel to the Land of Fire, and would come across or look for Naruto. However, because Naruto is much older, the appearance of what they're looking for in this timeline is completely different, with them looking for someone of about the age of 12, and Naruto obviously doesn't match that description. As the Akatsuki would try and enter the village, they'd easily enter, with them being escaped by the eye of the public and not being attacked for several hours. Even Sasuke would be spotted by Itachi at an Ichiraku ramen store, where he'd see Sasuke, a girl with pink hair, and a taller man. Maybe he was a Jonin for their team? He didn't know, but he was blonde and shaggy looking. I don't remember a Jonin like that, but, well, I guess if Sasuke's alright, that's all that matters. Both Itachi and Kisame would look through the village, finding nothing. That is, until they hear a scream saying, "Hey Naruto!" It would be Konohamaru. "Konohamaru, what's up? I was just finishing lunch, you know?" "Big bro, you got so huge, I saw your fight, it was awesome! Can you show me that move you did where you vanished?" As Konohamaru would be distracting Naruto, Itachi and Kisame had found their target, as we would get a very different Itachi and Kisame versus Naruto Uzumaki.
But that, ladies and gentlemen, is where I'm going to be cutting this video off. So if you guys want to watch the rest of this video, then go check it out on That One Weeb's channel. Trust me, it's an absolute banger of a watch. It's a whole 2 hour and 20-minute monster of video. So safe to say, you guys have a lot of content to binge if you guys go check it out. So it's going to be pinned in my link comment, or you honestly could just look up What If Naruto Trained in the Time Chamber, or just look up That One Weeb channel, whichever way you really want to go about it. But ladies and gentlemen, that's it for today. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.